everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Today for Tomorrow podcast. We are back in the conference room again. You know who I'm with.
It's the boardroom.
It's the boardroom.
Yeah.
We're in the boardroom, ladies and gentlemen. And we got the fellas.
That's Michael Wright.
That's right.
And you know what we're about to do? We're about to have a very fruitful conversation, and somebody gonna get some value from it. Because that's what we do.
Yes, sir.
It might be some hurt feelings on this one, though. It might be some hurt feelings.
Tell the people why.
You know what? Because it's about men and men not leading. So now some brothers are leading, but man, we want to know where the leaders are, where the leaders at.
So how do we want to start into this? Because I feel like there's you guys were already talking about it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot in that. There's a lot in that because we got the role of a woman, we got the role of a man, and the whole what you just said highlights the fact that somebody ain't doing what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reason that's a problem.
Yeah, no, that's right. I guess because you're right. This might be a multi-segment deal, but maybe we start talking about, for one, what a leader look like in a man, and then maybe talk about why that hasn't happened. So maybe let's start with the why first, because I think it's this came up. We were talking about how women are stepping up because men aren't stepping up. So women are taking on the role of the man, and as a woman in the household, in the job market, and all the different places. And I think when Mike and I was talking about, we're like, well, where the brothers at?
I think a good point for me to at least start on is the fact that we are a product of our environment, right? So when you say, what does a leader look like? It looks different in everyone's household potentially. And a part of, the Man series that we're going through with the Freedom, Christ and Ministry.
Man 2.0.
Yes, sir.
2.0.
And we talk about how there's been a disconnect in a lot of these households, especially in our community. We got to just keep it real. It went from young men spending time with their fathers and uncles to, now success looks like your father going into the office, you going into a cubicle, wearing a shirt and a tie, but you're away from your family. You're spending the most energized time of your day with other people away from your family, and most importantly, your sons, if you have them, because your kids are watching what you do. They're listening to what you say a little bit. It's a pity if it's my kids, very smart. But, they're watching what you're doing. They're watching how you conduct yourself. What does a man look like? We have to show them. And I think a big problem in today's society is men were once boys that were looking at the people around them who was, the majority of the time, their moms and their aunties. And we all know men and women do things a little bit differently.
No.
I mean, it's a fact. Hey, when my mom gets mad, it's a little different than when my dad gets mad, and it's not to say one is right, one is wrong, but emotions. Yeah. Emotions come into play. That we got to talk about that. Emotional intelligence, strategy. How do we pick a strategy?
Well, let's plug in something you said there, and I want Martell to jump in here too. So it's all about what you see. So let's talk about that a little bit. You talked about it a little bit too. So Martell, what do we see when we talk about the whole dynamic of what a man look like? What are we seeing that we think is playing into this whole not taking leadership?
Well, I think one, like Mike was just saying, it's a lack of examples. Because if all the dudes around me have pretty much stepped back and decided that they don't need to go do these things that would then be fulfilling their role as a man, then I don't understand. Growing up, I don't understand what a man is. And we've got a bunch of different frameworks that or examples of what a man is, but nobody has actually dissected the purpose and responsibilities of a man. So we've got this misinterpretation of what a man's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be Mr. Big Manly. I got hair on my chest and I'm lifting big weights and eating wood and stuff. Stupid stuff, right?
Yeah.
But the role of a man, the actual responsibility is there's a bunch of different facets of it, because you're also supposed to be emotional. Yeah, you're supposed to be providing, but you're also supposed to be protecting. But those two aren't the main things. And I mean, also too, we gotta understand that there's other people who are gonna be listening to this that aren't godly. I mean, they're not, they don't believe in the same thing that we believe. So their idea of what a man is different from us, because we're thinking about a godly man.
Right.
And a godly man to me is holistic.
And I think, that's the foundation of everything we talked about. You talk about man 2.0 and all that, what God wants in a man. But let's maybe dive into this whole world, like you were talking about, world view of manhood and what's happening with that. Which is, I think, what's got us off the rails.
You know, it's funny, so I teach a film class, and in the film class, you can see, I think this is a perfect example. I got a class of like 8 to 10 students, and there's more females in the class than males. This is a class that no one's forcing you to go to. It's not a requirement. You're not gonna get some special credit for being here. You have to decide that you want to be here. Like, I want to learn as a film class. Like, I want to learn film. So you have to make a way. You have to sign up. You have to find your way there, and you have to show up. You have to do the work. So everybody who's here in this class decided to be here.
Gotcha.
But not everyone shows up to their fullest. Not everyone does everything that they need to do. And the females, there's more females in this class than males. But the females are the ones who are doing the work, stepping up, and completing the assignments. They're leading things. Now there's some dudes in the class, and I'm not gonna say names or anything like that, but what's blatantly obvious is like the dude wants to run everything. He wants to be in control of the situation, but he's not a leader.
Yeah.
Now, I definitely think we definitely need to go into that a little bit, because one is actually leading. There's a female that's actually leading, and then there's one that wants to lead, and he thinks it's because of his title or role. Like, if I make him the director of this next project, he thinks now he has authority over everybody, but everybody's following her because she's doing the work.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few good points, and I think one that I wanted to kind of highlight is the fact that being responsible or being a leader or being a certain type of man, it's an action type of word, right? It's not really a title, even though we've misconstrued it to be a title.
Okay.
But it's really something that you do day in and day out. There's certain characteristic traits that you have and you exhibit daily. And the reality is, it's not easy. It ain't easy being a man in this world, because especially a black man, because end of the day, all the responsibility falls on you. I tell my wife all the time, listen, I understand, you may not like sometimes how I say certain things or a situation, it doesn't feel good, but when stuff hits the fan, it's my head that's on that chopping block. And I chose to put it there. It wasn't necessarily the way it had to be, but no, that's the type of man that I choose to be. I'm here as a protector of my tribe. I'm not above or below you, but at the end of the day, you from my room to be protected by me.
Well, you know what, man, because Mike, I'm gonna say this to you, and I mean this. To me, you are a great example of a man leading his family, kids, and so forth. And I'm not saying you're perfect. You be the first one to say you're not. Yeah. But what you just said, though, illustrates that, because one of the key things you said is that you chose. You your head on top. You chose to lead. You took the call, and I think one of the problems that we run into is that too many men are not choosing to lead. When the things get hot, they want to defer.
Yeah.
And
one thing I do want to, first of all, I appreciate that, because I know coming from you, it's an authentic statement. So I really do appreciate that. But one of the points I want to highlight, when it does get hot or uncomfortable, this is where we were just talking off camera about how a lot of guys from our community, the tough guys, a lot of these guys really aren't tough. What they do is they're able to mask the reality of, they may have trauma or whatever's going on underneath, but they can exhibit certain characteristic traits, and they don't really get tested a lot. And so the man is, oh, that guy's a tough guy. But they may be really a broken guy. They don't, it's deeper issues. And the thing is, when you choose to be a certain role, you have to take everything that comes with it. And that's where I think the problem, you could be a man. If it's all good, the money's flowing, the marriage is great, the kids are listening, it's easy to be a man. Hey, that guy's the man right there. He's the man. Look at him, he's the man. You know what I'm saying? That's easy, but when things go awry, that's life. I believe this is why we're here. We're gonna have trials and tribulations. That's when everybody's looking at you, your whole family, your wife, the whole world. And like, what you gonna do?
What you gonna do? Yeah.
And before it's like, look, we win as a team. We win. But when stuff hits the fan, what you gonna do?
And the thing about that, what you gonna do statement is, it just dropped into James 1, chapter 1, 2, and 3, talk about, hey, welcome trials and tribulations, because they build perseverance. So, and we talk about this too, when those things come, they actually an opportunity. And the fact the opportunity, that, okay, look, I'm gonna fight and get through this. But then your family, like you said, they're looking at you. And I'm married too, and I know my wife looks at me, and I'm not, and like you said, our wives are equal. We are one, but we have different roles. Yeah. And that wife looks at that man and say, I need you to lead. They want us to lead. And if and what I'm saying, when you do lead in those situations, that's when their confidence grow in you as a leader and trust. Because that hard decision you're talking about, they might not like it right off the rip, but I got to make this decision. She might not like this, but it's best for the house. It's best for the family. It's best for our future.
I feel like I'm talking a little bit.
No, go.
I gotta speak on this though. So I think that's the right and correct way to do it. But I will say this. This is we keeping it real, right? We gotta keep it real. So in our communities, I think one of the biggest issues is not just on the men. We can't just bash on the men. We gotta,
You gotta look at both sides.
We gotta look at both sides. The flip side to that coin of the men not having men to look up to and be in the household is that a lot of our women have never grown up with a man inside their house either.
Yes.
So they don't really fully understand the dynamic of a man, a father, a husband. So they create their checklist of what a man is supposed to be based off of what?
The world.
The world, maybe a TV, the Cosby Show, or something that they're looking at the greatest traits. Oh, this guy's funny. When his daughter's hurt, he talks to her with the kindest words and the best tone, and looking at the family.
But the real Mr. Huxtable.
Yeah. Oh, you talking about Bill Cosby? No, you talking about Bill Cosby?
Yeah. Well, you talking
the real Bill Cosby. Yeah. But that's a good point though, because the thing is, I have 3 sisters, right? And not just my sisters. This is just what I've seen and heard. The realities of when you do have a father, it's not always picture perfect. No. You know what I'm saying? But what I think is developed is a certain tough skin to where you understand when, hey, I remember my dad having to raise his voice, or I remember him having to get stern, or you
understand the dynamics of the household. I mean, and like you talk about your dad. My dad ain't great dad, but he's not perfect by no means. But my sisters saw a man in the house, and what you just talked about, men not being in the house, not leading their families, and the mother having to be the father and the mother, which is not her. She should not have to do that, but she's been forced to do that, whether it be a daughter or a son. Now that missing element is not there. Now it just perpetuates itself in future relationships.
Yes.
I think we need to ban that term.
Which one is that?
The woman being the father and the mother.
Because she can't do that.
She can never be the father.
She can't.
She can do certain things. She can take up certain responsibilities, but she could never be the father.
Yeah, correct.
So every woman, we've got, and we were talking about this, and we gonna talk about we were talking about this last time. It's like, does a strong single mother raise a whole black male? Does he grow up to become a full man?
It's impossible.
I just don't think it works out. I just don't think it works out.
Well, because the design is for a man and woman.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We need those parts.
And one disclaimer, I do want to say, we did have a lot of debate about that title because our concern is that we're the women that have to step up, we salute you, first and foremost. Because a lot of women, like we said, you had to play both roles and you did an amazing job. So
You trying to save us, Mike?
Yeah,
Mike was trying to save us on this topic.
I said, hey, you sure you with this
Mike want to
topic?
make sure we can walk out of here and be
we gotta
okay.
walk. I mean, this is the reality though.
But
Like, we gotta. This is what I think we're saying. And you guys let me know if I'm off track. But we're saying, yeah, even if his biological father wasn't there, maybe it was a coach, maybe it was a uncle, a big brother. We're saying like a young man needs
that male element.
elder men to show them how to be men. And on the same token, women need elder women to pass down and learn how to be traits, or else they get raised by Cardi B and Little Kim, you know.
Well, I mean,
You know what I'm saying?
no, well, Martell was just sharing where a single dad is raising, his kids and daughters. So to your point, that single dad cannot be a mother.
You can't.
To those kids.
You cannot. You're off
So
balance.
you're
missing something.
Yeah, you got. And what
you're
you're
missing
saying,
something.
I think, is hey, single moms do it. They kill it all the time. We know that. But it's important to bring what you're saying. Bring that male element in there. Single moms. It's important to find a male element, whether it's a granddad, whether it's uncle, somebody to impact those kids, so they got a portrait of what a man looks like in their role.
Yeah, and it's also important that you have to, has to be somebody that's trusted, respected, and you have to allow them to interact somewhat. Because what'll happen is sometimes, that's mama's baby. It's all good if you come in and, you handling your business, you taking on household responsibilities, but when it comes to discipline, well, hold on now, you ain't gonna spank my kid, because these are real situations that we go through, and it's out of love, though.
It is.
It's out of
But
love.
you know what? We slip it into that conversation. We're gonna make that a whole other podcast about can a woman be a father with that role. But let's get back to the leadership piece too, because it fits in all this. But let's not lose sight. We talk about men being leaders or not being leaders, not stepping up, and what that is, the byproduct of it. In those cases,
I think what's really, and I'm glad that you brought us, because
we're about to go there. We're about to go there.
That's we need to have that conversation at some point.
It's coming.
It's coming. Yeah. I think we almost need to invite the women in for that one, though.
That might be.
I think that would be a good one that we could collaborate a little bit, because this is a little testosterone heavy, and like I said, we want the women to feel like, hey,
Mike want to go home, y'all.
We gotta go home.
I tell you, about to hit on something though, man. I appreciate Mike saying that.
If you was offended with the statement, you was definitely gonna be offended with what I was gonna say next. But no. But definitely, men not stepping up.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about the woman-led household. If it's just the woman in the house, the male is going to be missing a few things, because there's just things that aren't in her naturally that she cannot give to the young man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so the guy, if that young man he's got his example is his mom, and so his mom has been probably doing an amazing job at raising him. But again, those holes. So then when he goes out into the world, he does not have an example of who he should be. Mm-hmm. And so maybe he's watching TV. Maybe he sees, there's, the perfect ideal male on the sitcom. But we all know that you're going to take up what you see and what you're around. That's what's really going to influence you the most.
Exactly.
And so I don't have a male. So now I don't have those pieces.
Yeah.
So the guy, and then when he gets into a situation where it becomes time to step up, he's never seen someone step up. Mm-hmm. He doesn't even know that it's his time to step up.
Yeah.
And so now we've got this busted system of males not stepping up because they never saw another male step up. They might have seen their mom step up, but it doesn't hit the same way.
No.
So and I've been thinking about this the whole time we've been talking, but I've been trying to kind of stay away from it. But I think I gotta just put it out there. Have you guys ever read
No, here we go.
the Willie Lynch speech?
I read it.
You read it? Okay.
Yeah.
Have
I
you?
might have heard it a long time ago.
So if we're talking about a lot of the symptoms that we're dealing with in today, this is, I think, what we're talking about. The root is we're fighting upstream. Yeah, we're digging from, we're starting, our homes
Glad you're going.
have been systematically broken.
Yeah.
And this is not by chance, it's by design. Because literally in this speech, and it's debated whether this was a true speech given or not, but me reading it, I'm like, it's literally, it's so specific. It's saying, listen, if you want to own and train your slaves and keep them for generations and generations, which we know happen, you have to systematically program them into thinking the way you need them to think. You need to pick the light skin against the dark skin, the old against the young, the men against the women. Okay? So certain things were being done to our women that we were forced to bear witness and we couldn't do anything, whereas we knew
We couldn't stand up as a
life
man.
or death. Yeah.
We can protect our
What good am I go cause a scene, 5 people gun me down, I may try to stop, probably not gonna be able to stop it, and now I'm gone.
Yeah.
Or do I have to swallow my pride and be here to at least have a chance to maybe do some impact? You know, like what type of choice is that?
Those situations demasculated black men.
Definitely.
And that, to your point, I'm glad you're going there because that is what we battle in this society, that whole construct of well, like you said, whether you wrote the letter or not, the point though is that formula is still what's being used,
so evident.
and it's being utilized even more now. And just to talk about leaders and women taking up leadership roles versus men, the society, the other piece is that's the other piece too. We think that we're fighting against strong black women in some cases. In reality, no, we're not. That's what they want us to do.
That's what they want us to do.
They want us to think that, to your point, the women
We're against each other.
Yeah, no. Instead of us working together and understanding each other's roles and that, hey, we in this together, and that's what we got to break. But that leadership piece, though, man, I tell you, putting brothers in jail systematically, all these different things that's happening to break up our home. Whereas in slavery, it was one thing. Now it's like, hey, we're gonna take the black man out of the house in other ways. You know.
Yeah. You're definitely on point. It's like, because we're talking about it in today's term, but today's term is made up of what happened yesterday.
Yes.
And I mean, if we really want to go back, Adam.
Yeah.
And in the garden, when he decided that he wasn't going to take responsibility. Yeah. That's when we started.
Yeah, exactly.
But no.
The lack of leadership.
Exactly. A lack of leadership. He didn't step up right then.
Mm-hmm.
So now we got generation of examples of not stepping up.
Mm-hmm.
But what you said of the males being taken out of the home, being systematic. I mean, I'm not going to clap it up for them, but they did a solid job of what they was trying to do.
Yes.
They executed. Yeah, they executed. The plan was executed for sure. Yeah. You could look at the history. It's data. We're still working very much upstream because we don't even understand what happened. Because you're talking about generation after generation after generation that's born into a mental construct. We are just now getting to what it's not my term, but the information age, right? Where information is so accessible. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, even with that, we're still being trained to consume nonsense. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Instagram is an amazing tool. TikTok, whatever social media, it's an amazing tool. But 90% of people are consuming all of the nonsense and they're completely disregarding all of the valuable I call YouTube University. You can literally learn how to build, construct, anything you need to learn. You can find a starting point on YouTube. I tell people all the time when they're asking questions about real estate, they want to go pay for this course or pay for that. I say, listen, let me ask you one question. have you exhausted all of your free resources yet? Because you probably will get to a point where you're at your tipping point and, a little piece of information here, a little piece of information there may get you over that hump. But we gotta, let's start from where we're at. Have you exhausted the free information? The story you just told about the digital experience, the class that you're teaching. How many people are going, okay, you have small amount. How many people are actually being active, doing the work, and being fully engaged? It's an even smaller amount. And going back to our original premise, it's the females. It's more of the female, not all, I won't say, I don't know the class, but I won't say not any of the guys are probably stepping up.
Like, I'm gonna just go ahead and tell
Straight
you.
up. They all fell, huh? They all get
I taught the class last year and it was a different group of kids.
Yeah.
It was still the females
Same
who
dynamic.
stepped up.
Same
That's just
dynamic.
how it
Yeah.
is. I don't know why. Well,
let me say this too, because I speak to, different women in leadership positions, and it's funny, I was just having this conversation, and the young lady was basically saying she coaches women for a living, right? Mm-hmm. So she's on all these calls all day, and it's always speaking about men in this negative term because these women are so hurt. And they want, man, I have 3 sisters, I have nieces. I watch women yearn for these men to achieve the highest of their potential. And what I always tell them is, listen, the man is showing you who he is. You have to believe him. Don't listen to what he's telling you. Watch his action. He's showing you. Now, I know you love him and you want to look at, well, but if he changes this, or if he did go back to school, man, that dude is 35. He could go back. Let me not say he's not. He could.
Yeah, he got that.
But is he showing you that he may not even be interested in that?
What pattern is he showing you?
What is he showing you?
Yeah. Now, one thing too, man, as you was talking and saying that, and I think you can attest to this, a woman like my wife has helped push me to do more than I ever thought I would do, or even try to do. So, and I think you probably say the same thing about your wife too, and that's that support. So when we talk about the role of a man and a woman, having that woman knowing, like I'll use my wife for example. She said she saw potential in me. Mm-hmm. Okay, she saw something in me, but it was a foundation there. Okay, so she's like my biggest cheerleader. She's my advocate. Hey, you know what? With my head down, hey, you can do it, and that energized me to go do it. But it's a difference between because I see some single women out and they just accept whatever's out there, not understanding that they deserve more, and they're not looking at what I call real potential for growth in these men. They're looking at, I just want a piece of man. You know what I'm saying?
I think, see, this is the thing I'm not gonna say devil's advocate, but because I've had some of these I think some of these women would say, we don't have a choice.
Yes, you do.
Now, I'm not saying that you got to be with somebody else's man. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying as far as accepting what's out there, is that the men are out there. Mm-hmm. They're saying, look at the ratios of the men that are out, because you got to think about this, and this is a real thing. Mm-hmm. So you have I call it like the gold mine era. Mm-hmm. When you're about 23, 24, 25, guys are coming out of college maybe with their degrees, and they're kind of showing you who's serious and who's not. Mm-hmm. A large percentage of men were wrapped up in that era and they got engaged.
They found their mate there.
They found their mate, okay? Then going on, let's say that woman was career-minded. She went to go get a couple more degrees. She was just focusing on her. She wanted to travel, whatever she was doing. Yeah. She looks up 30, 31, 32. Oh man, I want a family. I'm thinking about babies. Mm-hmm. Let me go find my man. You got all these men that are married or have been married, and now, they're back in the market. They have X amount of kids. Yeah. You have the population that they not interested in them. That's what do you say, Adam and Steve? Then you got the guys, they in jail. It's just like, so this.
I hear what you're saying, and look, I'm gonna push back this way because I'm glad you're going there. and this is where I'm gonna bring God into this equation, right?
Yeah.
Because that whole thing, that potential piece that my wife saw in me, it's because God was working in me. Because He changed me. If I hadn't accepted Him and started changing what I was doing, I would have been that guy. I would have been out there just floating around, boom, boom, boom. Hey, smorgasbord, da da da, whatever. But my wife, Sherry, she was like, for one, she wasn't dealing with certain things. You know, I mean, she had enough respect to say, hey, look, this is what I deserve.
She got a standard.
Exactly. But as women get older, what you see too is that sometimes that standard starts to drop.
You're like, man, I ain't seen nobody in this long.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
jeez.
And so, I said that choice is there, but it's like, what do people base their choice on? Are they basing it on the formula that they have, or are they bringing God into the discussion and saying, Lord, hey, I need you to help me in this situation? Because I see some people, some strong women who actually find God. I mean, man, it's this couple, dude, actually, and I married him actually like over a year ago. 80 years old. Him and they found each other. And
They're 80 years old now. And
they got married.
Oh, wow.
They had been married before. One lost her husband, and hadn't been married for years.
Right.
They found each other. They were going doing Bible study together during COVID. And they got married. I love them, man. I mean, and so 80 years old.
Yeah.
And they happy. So what I'm saying is that
It's never
it's
too
where
late.
you start. It's never too late. It's where you start. And God got to be in it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Go ahead.
No, I think so there's that verse about the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few.
Yeah.
I think you put there's a whole bunch of women on their stuff, but there ain't a whole bunch of men on there.
That's what they'll say it all the time. Like, listen, the dating pool is tainted.
Desert out there.
And you know what? And it's like, I was like, man, I'm saying that you gotta just, do what you do. They go, but like I said, I have 3 sisters, so I kind of go through this talk, often. And I look, and I'm like, I'm kind of just observing. I'm like, wow, okay. And then I started doing the data, and that's where I came up. I'm like, wow, you know what? Let me say this though, because you brought a good point. When you are a believer in our faith, this is something I also say, what's for you is for you. It will always find you. You don't have to rush it. You don't have to worry about it passing you by. Stay the course. Get deep into developing yourself, because another thing that I say is when you find your man, hopefully you show up 100%. Hopefully he's working on himself right now and he shows up 100%. So when you guys meet, you're solid. Because a marriage, they say that 50-50. It is not 50-50, in my opinion. It's 100-100.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 90-10. Sometimes it's just like that. Sometimes your wife may have to drag you to the finish line.
Yep.
It is what it is. We're human. Sometimes it's the other way around, but if
You better pray you find somebody who's gonna actually go through that.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
100
That's
part.
what I say in real estate. When everybody's coming to these deals, I say, listen, they'll tell me about this, that. I say, listen, you make your money when you buy, not when you sell. As long as you bought right in the beginning, the deal's gonna work itself. It doesn't matter what comes up because you bought right. You knew unknowns were gonna pop up.
You know what, man? I love that. And actually, I think we're going to put a pin in this. I think we're going to have to come back to this topic. We do need to get some more women at the table to have that discussion, because we need to get into this deeper.
Yeah.
But what you just said, you make your money
When you buy, not when you sell.
But that's the same. I think you can take that with relationships.
Yeah.
You have a good relationship based on who you choose in the beginning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if you got to try to work at it too hard to make it have a return later, then it might not be the right relationship.
Yeah.
And also, okay, I know we got to.
I was about to say about that.
Well, there's the whole process that I feel like, especially with my generation specifically, that I've seen with my friends and going through high school, college, we missed. There's stages before you get married. You don't just go from I like you, we're in a relationship, let's get married today. There's you're an acquaintance, right? then you make them a casual friend, then there's a close friend, there's an intimate friend. And then if you're at that point, that's when you decide, okay, maybe we're gonna take this to the next level. But if you skipped from acquaintance to casual to we're now intimate, you've missed all of the criteria, you missed all of the things that were supposed to be requirements before you move to the next step.
Man, we got to write this down, y'all. Because what you just laid out, we need to talk about relationships. Because
the process
of relationships. Because from a man's perspective, we got to put that on the list, Martel.
Because even what you just said, I think, and this is a bold statement, but I don't know if a lot of young women truly understand that process. Because they will go from, hey, I meet you, you're nice, to...
I'm gonna stop us right here, guys. We done went from the leadership. Yeah. We done drifted, y'all. We done drifted. We're coming back to this, though. Keep it pitted. Martel, take us out, brother. Take us out when we start again.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Today for Tomorrow podcast. Of course, we got the fellas here. It's been a great conversation, but we coming back to it. We started off talking about how the men were not leading up, but of course, that touches so many different areas of manhood, relationships, womanhood, and what does it mean? Mm-hmm. And so we're gonna come back to it. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we hope to see you next week on the next one. Peace.